Welcome to Lesson 6, our final lesson for this project. We're going to continue to work on CSS, the hands-on portion. Currently, this is what your page should be similar to this. We've added color and we worked on the font, either the color of the font and picking the font that you wanted and also the size of the font. Now we're going to complete our CSS with the layout and centering the items how we want to center them, and adding some spacing. And right now things are a little like up against each other and we want to be able to space some stuff out. So let's learn how to do that. Okay, so this is where we were at last time. I'm going to come to this. This is what you should have, something similar to this right now. And just as we did before, I've already commented out some items that I want to work through. So the very first thing that I want to do is show you how you can center. And we're going to center everything right now just so that you can see what that looks like. So in my body, because I want to center everything, I'm going to say that in my body, the property that I want to place, I'm selecting the body, right? I already have that as a selector. And my property is text align, and that means align everything center. So that's the very first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to run this, and actually I'm going to come out to this page because I feel like it gives you a better view. And it took everything, and it took all the text and aligned it center. If you notice down here, you're like, oh, whoa, what happened to her bullet points? Well, it did not center that, but we will take care of that next. That was our list item. So before we do that, we're going to place a div around our list items, and also we're going to place one around our image, a div tag. So in your index HTML, and remember, whatever you do to your index HTML, if we have similar pages, our page 2 and page 3, do the same for your other pages as well. But right now I'm just going to do the HTML, the indexed one, which is your home page. So I've already enclosed my image and my list items in a div. So if you can see them right here. I can highlight that. So I took my image and I placed it inside a div. So I had an opening and a closing tag. And did the same over here. If you did an unordered list or an ordered list, I placed those inside a div. And I can just redo that so you can see what I'm doing. Just going to backspace. So you're going to, I think right now, the way things that should be lined up for you, everything should be indented. So I'm just going to do an opening div tag. And it's the second one. And then I'm going to place a closing one right below my UL, my unordered list. So that's going to be my closing div. Okay? So make sure that whatever you do to your home page, you do to your other pages. We're going to come back over here. And now the next thing that we're going to do is go to our list item, and you're going to type this in, LI for your list item, and what you're going to tell your value that you're going to give your list item is, so that it aligns with the bullet point, text align those items, your text to the left. So you want this text to come back to the left. And let's refresh this. There we go. Now I want to push things closer, but not, I want them to stay together. So a way that I found to fix this is going to be, I'm going to give it a margin. So there's going to be margins on both sides because that's where I want there for this to push in. So I'm going to do margin. You could do just margin left, but I'm going to do margin on both my left and my right side. And when you use the property margin, you have an option to do a margin on the top, to the right, to the bottom, and to the left. And that's how you read this. The very first numbers, top, right, bottom, left. And so I'm going to give margins on both ends 800. So let's run that. And now it's pushed that in, okay? And I used a margin for that. I wanted to point out that for my lecture videos that I'd explained margins, paddings, borders, and I would highly encourage that you watch that lecture video. I know we're not going to watch it in class, but I'm going to upload that onto YouTube and really encourage you to take the time to watch that video because it's going to teach you a lot of things that I think are important for you to understand. The next thing that we're going to do is just for stylistic purposes, I want to place a border around my image. I think that would be nice. So I'm going to uncomment this, and my selector is going to be the image tag. That's what I'm selecting. And I'm going to, my property is going to be border. And then the value, it has 3 values. The very first one is the size of the border, and then what type of a border, and then the color of the border. I want it to be 25 pixels, I want it to be a solid border, and then I want it to be a darker blue. I run that, and that's my border, and that's exactly what I wanted. All right, and the next thing I want to do is I'm going to come up to, do you see my header? How you have my text, my Y is touching the very bottom of the header. I don't like how that is. I don't like that it's so narrow. I want there to be more space in here. And for that, I want the header to come out, but I don't want the Y to grow with it. So I'm going to use padding for that. And so coming back up to the header selector, which you should already have in your CSS, I'm going to uncomment this. And padding will do that. It's going to make that space between the text and the outside, which would be your border. It's going to give it space in between there. So I want the padding, again, this is the top, 5 pixels on top. I don't care about the padding on the sides because I feel like the sides are fine. But I do want there to be padding on the, so I have top, right, bottom. I want some padding on the bottom, and then to the left, I don't want padding. So I'm going to come back out here, and you're going to see this. It's going to get wider, and that's in my header. So refresh, and that's exactly what I want. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is go to, I'm going to add in my paragraph, I'm going to do, I want to give it a margin and push things in again. And I'll show you what that looks like before I refresh it. So I'm going to pick the selector to be the margin, and we're going to do the margin, remember, top, right, bottom, and left. And I'm actually giving it 25 pixels on the bottom because I feel like I want a little space there. And I'll show you that before I refresh it. So we'll come back here, and I want there to be a little space here, but I do want to push this in, okay, because my paragraph's running all the way straight across. So let's refresh that, and it did that. You can't really tell too much here, the margin, so I can actually add a little bit more so you can see that. And while I'm doing that, when I do that, if you notice, it's taking the command that we gave at the very beginning, the whole body, and everything's centered, the text is centered. So I'm for my paragraph, I want my text to line left so that the P and Pikachu and the C in containing and the C in chubby line up. So I'm going to come back over here, and I've already commented that out. So I'm going to say text align left, and let's do 50 here and see what that looks like. And this is the fun part of CSS. You can just experiment until things look how you want them to look. So this should line up, and there should be a little bit more space here. So let's refresh this, and there we go. Okay, and I like that. I like how that's starting to look. The next thing that we're going to do is, this is bothering me. I don't like this underline on my navigational. This isn't changing because I haven't ran it, but let's run that, because there we go. So now that looks funny here, because if I were to open this, it would look better, but because this is a smaller browser, it looks a little funny. So we'll leave that alone. I'm going off of this size of the screen right now. And that's more advanced. We could do a lesson on that, on how to adjust the size for it to grow. But right now, this is a very basic introduction. So we will just work with what we have at this moment. But the last thing is going to be is I want to get rid of this right here, these underlines. So that is in your anchor. So to get rid of that, you're going to, excuse me, select the anchor and the curly brackets, and you're going to say text decoration none, because that's a text decoration. You don't want that. And I also want to change the color. I don't like that purple default color it has, and I'm going to change that to dark orange. So let's come back out here and refresh that, and that's changed the default color. One more thing is that I don't like that my navigational bar is right up against my header, so I want there to be a little bit of space of that in that. So I'm going to come out here, and in my nav, I'm going to give it a margin so from the top. I think everything else is fine, right? Everything else, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to give it a top margin up here. So let's come here and backspace that, delete that, and I'm going to do 30 pixels on top and 0 every to the right, to the bottom, and to the left. And I'm going to refresh this, and there we go. And that looks so much better. Like I said, this is a very huge screen, but right now I'm styling this website for this size of a screen, and that's looking how I like it. I'm pleased with this. If anything, I would maybe just bring in my paragraph a little bit more. So I could go to my paragraph and say, you know what, let's make this 700. I think that would be about the only thing that I would do, is bring my paragraph, the margins from the sides in. Yeah, there we go. And I like that. I like that a lot. I hope you've had a great time in this class. I've really enjoyed teaching you this. And please look at the lecture videos. I think that's going to really connect the dots on some of the things that we went over. And I hope you're inspired to create more websites. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you guys in class.